here's the cost to make it simple.
Mhm.
Here's how much you got to sell.
Yep.
Here's what I want to make. Now let's break that down into its simple parts.
Yep.
Here's what I want to make. Here's the
Hmm.
cost to make it. Here's a number I have to sell to get to that number. This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Rob, I think this episode, man, is going to be hard hitting because here's what I'm thinking. That a couple of things. I'm thinking that nobody seems to have problems in business. And I love your answer, and I want this episode to kind of revolve around that. Is you
Hmm.
said something, you says, yeah, but are they problem aware?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
once you become aware, and I think if I was thinking of a title, I was like revamp how you do business. That seems to be the
Yeah.
stage where
Yeah.
both of us are at in what we're thinking about. And
Yeah.
you said some stuff, man. We gotta drop this on everybody. So what
Yeah.
do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think one of the things we talk about is kind of like a lot of people in business don't know what their actual problem is. They know what the symptoms are. They know not having money or not having customers or whatever, but they don't know what the actual problem is. And the actual problem, like we were talking about off camera, is most of the time, and Myron Golden says this a lot, right? Most of the time, people are trying to sell stuff to people who don't want it, don't need it, and can't afford it. And they're doing all this work trying to convince people that they want, need, and can afford what you have instead of doing the work of finding the people who already want what you have.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And we were kind of digging into like one of the problems that I ran into when I first started my business and that we're really like 6 years in trying to rectify was the people that I started the business to help were not the people who could pay me enough money to make running a business sustainable for my family. So I had to go help a different clientele and figure out a whole different business and everything else because that clientele could pay for what I needed to make so that I could run a business. But now I'm in the space where I know how to serve that clientele and make enough money to take care of my family, but I still have this business that I want to help this other clientele over here. And I think, the struggle that I remember when that I was going through when I first started my business, the struggle I think a lot of business owners that are trying to figure out how to make that first six figures are struggling with is how do I help the people that I want to help and make enough money to keep helping people, right? Like to keep doing this. And I mean, I don't know, that's one of those conundrums that I've seen because you see business people, and a lot of times it'll go one or two ways, right? They'll have a job or they'll have independent wealth over here,
Mm-hmm.
so that they have enough time to build this business for these
Mm-hmm.
people, or they have to build a business to take care of themselves and everything. And so they wind up having to go find whoever can pay for that. And I think there's a lot of people that are probably sitting out there that's like, I wanted to help single moms. I wanted to help, people who are middle class or lower class and make life easier for them. But like they don't the level of business that you need to be able to sustain to help somebody like that and make the margins that you need to make and do the things you need to do, it's a whole different ball game
Yeah.
a lot of the time. So I don't know, Rand, when you look at the kind of questions that you see people getting, especially when you like, hey, what are you worrying about in business? What are you struggling in business? And you kind of get the crickets, right? How does that resonate to you as far as people not really knowing what their actual problem is?
Yeah, and that kind of led me to this particular questions because I put out some polls and I said, hey, what problems are you struggling with? Because what we do here is solve problems. And I don't want to make the assumption that, hey, I know what's best for you. No, tell me
Mhm.
where you're at so I can meet you where you're at. And then, Rob and I, we can formulate from what we've experienced the answer to your problem, right? And I was so
Mhm.
surprised that I didn't get a lot of responses. And that had me kind of feeling a certain way, like, hey, maybe nobody realizes they have problems, or like you said,
Mm-hmm,
problem
mm-hmm,
aware. So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that led me down to thinking about the basics of basics in starting a thing. Now, I used to do it backwards. I'd get all fired up in the middle of the night, 2:30 in the morning with an idea, build it out, nobody comes,
Yeah.
right? So
I had a
now what
whole
I
bunch of those
do,
experiences.
and now I do it the other way. I've inverted it, right? It's like the inverted pyramid as it relates to business ideation. Is now I go find problems. And then I ask, do I have the skill set or can I pull the skill sets together to
Mm-hmm.
solve? Period.
Yep.
No two ways about it. And how it looks is and if I said, well, here's the business plan, it's 4 words. This is the 4-word business plan. So y'all
Mm-hmm.
grab this. The 4-word business plan. Who, what, where, and how. I mean, wait. Wait a minute. What do I mean? All right. So you ask that question. Who are you trying to help first? Right now, you say that question. I'm trying to help X. Okay, that's if you start this way. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
start the
Mm-hmm.
traditional way, I have an idea. Now I'm going to go find people with problems, right? So if you do it that traditional way, it's who are you trying to help? I'm trying to help people that have this. Oh, okay. What is their problem? What is their problem? And then you go, well, people I'm trying to help have this problem. Then you say, oh, okay. And then the next one is, where are they? And this is like
That's important.
what people typically stop there, but I said this is 3 W's and an H.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask, how many of them are
Mm-hmm.
there? Right. So now to your point, if you've identified, well, here are the folks that can pay me. Here's the problem that they do have. How many of them that have that a problem or problem awareness, and then you are charged with the responsibility to put your solution in front of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about that, man, it's like now I just do that. I go, where's the traffic? So I can say this differently. Where's the traffic? People, right? What do they
Mm-hmm.
seem to be searching for? Now, y'all have heard me say this in a different kind of way. What do they seem to be searching for? What are the answers that they're seeking? Answers equal problems. If I'm on Reddit, if I'm on LinkedIn, I'm listening to what they're doing. Now I got an app that shows me everybody's comments, and I can see if the people still have problems. What are they complaining
Mm-hmm.
about? Right? Those are problems to solve. I'll go to,
Yeah.
man, I got this one, Rob, that, and I did a video on it for my other channel, and I go to WikiHow. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
wikihow.com, because all
Yep.
they do on there is ask questions. How
Mm-hmm.
do I do this? And then I see how many people
For asking that question.
are asking that question. Then I see the answers that they give. See, now I'm about to give y'all a cheat code, a business cheat code. Then I will look at the answer. And now that we have, prior to GPT, in fact, I did this video before we had the large language models, the GPTs, and the answer engines, right? So now that we have that, I can say, from this answer to this question, what's missing? And then fill that
Yep.
in.
Yep.
Y'all seeing it? So, but if you're not aware that your business has a problem,
Mm-hmm.
I did this today or yesterday in class. I says, if from your idea that you just presented, you had to eat from it, could you? Eat.
Right.
Nothing else,
Right.
just that idea. And if they
Right.
didn't raise their hand, wrong class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
No.
now you
And
have to eat from that idea. What are you going to do
and
next?
I think that's the, what we were talking about in the beginning. That's the conundrum a lot of people deal with, because oftentimes the problem that we think we have, or the problem, like for business owners specifically, a lot of them are not aware. Like they think that I need more leads, or I need more sales, or whatever the case may be. And the reality, and again, I take this from Myron Golden. I love the way he points it out. He's like, how hard would it be for you to sell hamburgers
You're a hungry man.
outside of a
Oh yeah. I remember this.
baseball game or football game or a bar after everybody just came out of that establishment and didn't have no food in the establishment? How hard would it be for you to sell out? And, of course, everyone's like, that'll be easy because you got, right? Now, you take that same hamburger stand and you put it in the middle of a farm field. How hard would it be for you to sell out? Right?
I
Darn near
built it, they
impossible.
won't come. Right?
Exactly, right? And nothing changed except for the location and your proximity to people who need what you have already. And I think so often, and even for me, right? One of the things that, and I was watching this video by Alex Formosi, he was talking about this with content creators and everything, and it really hit me as well because it was like, you know, what are you saying? Or not what are you saying, but why should people listen to what you're saying? Like,
Yeah.
what is the thing that you're talking about that people should listen to it for? And I think a lot of us as business owners have to really answer that question realistically, be like, what is it that I have to say that people should listen to me in order to say that? And for a lot of people, right, we were talking about this off camera. There are certain things that people are selling that they don't even believe, like that type. You know what I mean? Like, and so one of the questions that we talked about was the question of like, is what you're selling worth selling?
Mm.
And right, you asked me a couple times, you're like, you mean, is it worth buying? I was like, no. Is it worth selling? Is it important enough to you that you're willing to tell everybody about this thing? Right. I remember, right, there were certain movies and certain things that I've seen. When I saw them, I was like, everybody has to see this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I remember when The Matrix came out, I
Oh
was
yeah.
telling everybody, you got to
And
see
I
this movie.
watched it like 37 times personally. So
Exactly, right? And same thing when Black Panther came out. I was like, you've got to go to the movies and see this. Everybody, like, I went to the movies and saw it 3 times. And then I watched it and we bought it as soon as it came out on Amazon Prime. And like all the things. Then when Disney Plus came out, we had like all the things. And a lot of times we get kind of meh on the stuff that we're selling. And we've got to be as excited about the value that we're providing as we are about somebody else's product that we tell people that they need to go buy.
mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why is because if you're that hyped about what you're selling, eventually the people who are looking for that will find you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you're not even excited about it, if you're not creating a buzz about it, then it's very difficult for the people who are looking for it to find you. And Myron Golden said it's like sales. Thing that you should be paying attention to with sales is you want to, instead of trying to convince people to buy what you have, go find people who already want what you have and make it easier for them to find you.
Mm. Yeah, that is. I remember giving my wife some advice. I says, who needs, who needs the solution that the business that you're selling offers? Who needs that? Right? Said the same way. I says, now who needs the credibility of this seal? Not her business,
Mm-hmm.
but she was working with a company. I said, who needs that
Mm-hmm.
credibility? Find them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then what I did was then I went into a GPT and I says, okay, and I asked that question: who might need the seal of approval of blah, right? And it gave me some things to consider. And I says, just spend time here with this group of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they could really use the credibility indicator that your business or that the business that you're working for offers. Now, for
Yep.
her
Yep.
personal business, as I said to her, when you're thinking about the women entrepreneurs that you serve,
Mm-hmm.
right? I says, you think about that. I says, what is it that they seem to be telling you they enjoyed the most about coming to whatever? It was always, you all hold me accountable. So the question of what are you selling? And
Mm-hmm.
then I felt so comfortable in a room full of other people like me, not
Mm-hmm.
color wise, but ideation and idea and where they at in where they're at their business, and then the ability to walk across the room and connect with somebody. So at one point she was like, "Well, I have a connection business. I said, mm-mm. I said, that's just a subset,
Mhm.
right? I says, now, how do you scale that? Is finding people that would also like to be held accountable, that would also
Mhm.
like to connect with, that would also. So now you go, oh, it's basically the matching up of now when you go out there in the marketplace, how do you find those folks? Because they're online searching for something. Or like you said, they're buying something similar, but it just doesn't do it
Mhm.
for them. I'm
Yep.
thinking about that personally because as I spin up new businesses, and I'm in the digital real estate, y'all. If I invested in some stuff that's on the ground, and I was like, nobody wants that, right? But now I'm thinking, okay, so every single thing that I'm thinking about, I'm asking that question. Who would want it? Is there a big enough market for it? Where are they? You know, just those four points, a word business plan. Just it seems too simple. That can't be it, Randy. No, it can't be it. But like Rob
Yeah.
said, he says, um, how'd you put it? Who I was in business.
Oh yeah. Who I was in business
Yeah,
for
yeah, who I was in
was
business
not
for
who I was in business for was not who could keep me in business.
aren't the people that can keep me in business. That's
And it was,
choice,
I mean,
man.
it hurt my heart at the beginning, right? Like, 'cause there were certain group of people that I was really focused on that I really wanted to serve. And I realized that the time and the system that I needed to build in order to be able to serve that group of people, the business model that I knew how to build wasn't the business
Yeah,
model that could serve that group of people. And so I had to, like, I spent a lot of the first part of starting my business really serving a group of people who could afford that type of stuff and really learning that group and learning how to you know matriculate in that area and bring those people in. Now
yeah,
we're at a point, and we've been blessed enough to get to a point where I can still do that work over there, make that money, but now I can take the time that I need to build over here and
hmm
serve the people that I really want to serve. But it's funny because one of the things that I'm struggling with now with that is getting my mindset right about really asking the questions and getting excited about what I'm going to present and bring to them like I was before, because I I have been, in this paradigm of serving this group of people for so long. You got to really get back and start to understand this marketplace again. And so that's one of the things that me and my team are kind of working through right now is how can we serve these people and serve in the volumes that we need and do the things that we need to do.
yeah.
And
I,
it's not easy.
yeah, I was really, man, I was reading again, y'all heard me talk about on last week. I'm reading this book, $1 Million Weekend. And it's pretty basic, but sometimes just getting back to basics is everything. And literally what he was talking about in here and he's got just some really simple questions of, okay, this is what you want to make. Here's the cost to make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how much you got to sell.
Yep.
Here's what I want to make. Now let's break that down into its simple parts.
Yep.
Here's what I want to make. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
cost to make it. Here's a number I have to sell to get to that number.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get talked about, man, when I would ask a business owner, how much would you like this business? Basically, what would you like this business to do for you? Right. And
Yep.
I'd have to judge who I was talking to. And I say judge in this sense. I'd have to say, this is a person that really doesn't want money. This is a person that has a bad relationship with money. They kind of push it away. This is a person that's well off, but now they just want to make impact. Okay. Because they don't always tell you that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Mm-hmm.
want this to be, okay. Do you want this thing to make any money? And I'll just come out and say, do you want this? Yeah. But they didn't say all
Mm-hmm.
that in the conversation. Right.
Not that.
So, but once we know that, then we can start structuring the business. Then we can go, okay, where might be the people that can pay you the necessary price to get you to that number? Where might they
Exactly.
be? So it's basically that who, what, where, how all over again.
Yep. And I
Wow,
think a
man.
lot of times, and one of the things that people got to pay attention to is sometimes the answers to those questions are not what you want.
Right.
And I think that that's a, I don't know, that's the tricky part about being in business. Like the market is what the market is. It's not always going to be what you want it to be. And sometimes we have to, I know it's hit me in the face a couple of times where I was like, man, but I don't want that to be the market. And then I had to get like comfortable with that's what the market was.
I don't want that to be the market. That's
Exactly,
funny.
right. And it feels like there have been a couple of times I was like, man, do I even want to do this anymore? Once I learned what the market was, and it was like I had to take some time and sit back and kind of think about it, and then say, okay, well, if this is what the market is, let's figure out how to survive and how to be successful in that market.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you, and I'll be completely honest. Like there are times when I've looked at it and I'm like, do I really want to do that? I had to ask the question. Like I didn't know. Like it wasn't like, yeah, definitely. It was like,
Man,
I don't know. Let me
we
let
are
me think
prob
on that for a little bit.
we're in similar points, right? Where I go, hey, I'm noticing this ain't working. Uh, Because on certain areas I'm going, I can't seem to find the traction.
Hmm.
Right now, if you're kind of approaching your business from that perspective and if you don't have that desire to get up and do it because it is going to have the impact or it does something for you anytime you open your mouth about it, you're going to shut that business down maybe a little bit before you should.
Yep.
You're going to go, oh my gosh, this thing only got this many views. And this is what I remember Marcus Brownlee talked about, right? The YouTuber. He says he was doing this from high school and he wasn't getting any views. None. High school. He says 5
Hmm.
years in, he started getting views. Now he's got
Hmm.
14 million subscribers. So nothing, nothing, nothing. But his purpose for doing it was his natural curiosity. He was scratching his own itch. So he was going to do it
Hmm.
anyway.
Exactly.
That part. And it also goes to what Gary Vee talks about. Document, don't create.
Exactly. And that part, I still think it's hard because I think a lot of us too have a natural aversion to kind of being in the spotlight. Like I didn't start what I did to get famous. It's not one of those things where like I'm naturally not the person that goes into the middle room like, hey, everybody look at me. Like, if I have to, I'll be
Bob's
that person.
here.
But normally, right. Like I go in a room, I sit in the corner, I just sit and chill. And then when people start talking, now I'm involved in the
Yeah,
conversation. But
yeah.
like
Oh,
I'm
I
not
get
like,
that.
all right, party's here. I showed up. That's never been me. And I think part of it is like you got to become that conversation starter, that person that is galvanizing and really getting people excited and amped up about stuff. And
Yeah.
that's an interesting skill set to develop.
And for your business, think about this, y'all. So, and we've touched upon this in certain segments in other ways in other podcasts, but sometimes you got to be the market agitator. You got to
Mm-hmm.
agitate the problem, right? And drug companies do this very, very well. Y'all heard me say this before. Be like, oh, your leg's shaking, huh? I'm thinking, man, I'm watching these things and say, hey, you got some rashes on your arm. That could be plaque psoriasis. And you're like, what? So you should take
Yeah.
this. Oh, well, by the way, it's going to blow your liver out. Whatever it is. You're like,
Right.
hey,
Your
buddy,
leg might fall off as a side effect, but
I'll just put a salve on it. But they're agitating the problem. They're saying,
yep.
you don't want to keep that on there, do you? And they show people
Yeah.
friends like, shying away from them. You're like, right? And now they
Yep.
agitated the problem to the point where they say, go ask your doctor for this thing because they can't do it anymore. But they found a way to
Mm-hmm.
get you to do it. So think about your business. If Rob
Yep.
said, if you're not standing on milk crates saying you should really consider this because I think it'll
Mm-hmm.
help your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Leaders, you really should think about this leadership mastery because you're losing everything,
Yep.
right? And it becomes, in my estimation, it becomes the thing that gets you going, right? It's the if you're not aware that that is a potential problem, you're not self-aware. You don't know even
Exactly.
the problems your business has. So, all right. Now we tell you all the time that we like to take very particular problems sometimes and then throw a whole bunch of solutions at it. So one of the problems that came in, I had a couple people say, "Hey, you know what? The people, how did they put it? They said that money's tight for everybody. So if money's tight, they're not going to buy my service." Now, that's a good conundrum because for me,
Mhm.
it fires up. And what I did was I listed three things that I thought would be, you know, perfect for agitating the marketplace to come and buy my stuff. And what it came down to was value. Somewhere along the line, they don't see the value of doing that thing.
Mhm.
Period. So how do you increase the value?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you increase the value? I do it in ask. I put one out there just recently. I says, and I'm cash apping somebody. I'm saying cash apping. I
Mhm.
says, here's a question. Get it right, get money. Didn't say how much.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm seeing if this dropped in gets people excited about answering the question that I really want answered.
Yep. Yep.
Right. In other words, by that they will think differently because they will see the thing that I asked and go, now here's a lazy way. Is to just take the math and do this and that. And I'm like, not the right answer. But I'm seeing if I can get them engaged in a way that they go, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. And quite frankly, hopefully they don't hear this before they answer the question. It's a question that you have to make an assumption on to answer it, or say to me, well, that can't be answered until I know this. Yes, you want, but it's making you think. I know some people are
Yep.
going to just do some math and go, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wrong. But that's a way of then going out there and asking more valuable questions of the marketplace or adding value into it so that you can get the value out.
There, right? Give value to they ask to buy from me.
So in the business that you have, what are some of the things that you find yourself reformulating if you want to share?
Yeah, so I think one of the things I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day, one of the things that we do a lot of work in is communication, obviously. And there's a lot of people that will say that they have communication issues or that they need to learn how to communicate better or that communication is costing them jobs, personnel, fights, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that people struggle with is quantifying how impactful that is. And so one of the things that we've created and that I'm about to be rolling out here shortly is a cost of communication calculator. And basically what we did is we went and did some research and
That's
looked at
hot.
in business on average, how much is bad communication costing business owners, businesses, and et cetera. And we look at a couple of different areas. So we have a basic calculator and we have a advanced calculator. And I think that, helping businesses to figure out where the areas. So we dig deeper if you want to dig deeper, right? There's a there's the advanced calculator, which will debrief you on. But the basic calculator gives people a range of how much based on the size of your company and what you're doing in revenue, how much the how much your poor communication is costing you. So that's something that, we looked at because we hear a lot of people talk about communication and nobody can really say how much it's worth to them. And so as a solution to our kind of sales cycle, because my whole thing with my business is we never want to sell anybody anything that they can't see before they buy it is going to
Correct.
be worthy and valuable to them.
Agitating
Right.
the problem.
Exactly. And so what we're doing is helping them to understand how much the problem is costing them. And that's stuff that normally would take some time and all the rest of that. We put time into it. We give that value so that people can understand it. That's one thing. I'm also in the process of creating for my Thriving Chaos crew. I'm creating another calculator that is our cost of yes calculator. All right.
Mhm.
And so, one of the problems that a lot of people have when they're struggling with time mastery is that they wind up becoming reluctant martyrs, right? And resentful martyrs,
That's
where
interesting.
where they're like, they can't say no, but they mad that they say yes, right? They angry at somebody, and they doing this community event, or they helping their friends, or they staying late at work, or they taking over this project, or whatever it is they doing. They're like frustrated and upset at it. I'm always the one that's doing stuff. I'm always the one to clean up after everybody. I'm always right. And there's a cost to all of the yeses that we give people. And what we're doing is actually helping them to figure out how to calculate for your life how much it's costing you not knowing how to say no.
See, to me, when I hear stuff like that, y'all, as a marketing, mind, I automatically I can see I would buy that book. If I saw it in a book form and if it was titled in a way that made me go, huh, right? And then if the
Mm-hmm.
subhead was just right, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's yes costing you? And then the
Yep.
subhead says something like um boundaries and stuff like that, then that goes directly into the work that you do. And then, because to me, the book then goes off and begins the conversation,
Exactly. And you're
right?
exactly right. That's kind of the way we're building it out. We've got the calculator, and then we've got some articles that'll go stem directly from the stuff that the calculator teaches people. And then the ultimate thing is, okay, if this has been helpful, if this is beneficial for you, here's a book that'll teach you how to change that narrative for you. And then, of course, we got coaching and we got other stuff. But we're really trying to build entry level kind of here, come meet us here. Here's value, get it for free. And then if you want something else, here's a book. And then if you want something else, we can help you with that too.
Yeah. I think in one weekend, all of, one weekend and you got a team, um, I can see something like that getting created that then is out there in the marketplace acting as a doorway into your business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
serious. I mean, it's just one of those things where you go, wow, is it that easy? Well, and then I think the legs, how that thing would have legs, as they, saying movie talk, is it just keeps lasting, is that it's placed in a spot where people see it and then they can click on it, and then there's links to what they can click on within it. I did a video about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't even released these videos yet because I was in such production mode that I didn't have time to release them. And it talked about that. So it literally, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over to SlideShare. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to take some headings. Da da da. We're going to go to SlideShare. We're going to put this PowerPoint on SlideShare with links.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's going to stay, and it's going to be keyword rich so that we know people are da da da. So we make sure we do that work. So I show them a little bit of how to do that. And then I says put it on SlideShare. That's one. Now we take that and we create the little bit of a PDF from it,
Mm-hmm.
and we do the same thing. We put the links in there. So now it's on SlideShare. That's how you get the legs. It then is in PDF format, easy to download. That could be a giveaway, whatever it is. And people download it, go, oh my gosh, I need to find this out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The actual service itself, the productized service, if you will, is then when they say, you really need to come in and show us how to bolt together from this blueprint that you just gave us. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not that you're holding back, but you
Mm-hmm.
says, okay, you can do it yourself, or you can have me and
Mm-hmm.
my team come in and really rock this thing out. What would you like? And they will buy 2 to 3 to 4 different products. Then says, please come on in because we could
Yep.
really need you to go deep. And that thing could
Yep.
just be out there just generating for you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's kind of the next space that we're going to, kind of going back to that whole concept that we were talking about earlier. What is the thing that you're willing to talk about that they need, right? And I think that for both of those audiences, for my entrepreneurship or my business leadership audiences, cost communication is something that everybody needs to know, needs to understand. And I
Cost
love
of
the fact that we were
communication.
able to find it and put it together. And then the cost of saying yes calculator is another one where, right, a lot of people know that they say yes too much, or that they don't feel comfortable saying no. A lot of people don't know how much it's costing them.
Man, I think that the one that rings really, in my ear the most is the cost of communication
Mm-hmm.
or the
Mm-hmm.
cost of poor
Poor
communication,
communication. Yep.
right? And I don't even know how I would put that out as cost of communication. Then they go, "What are you talking about?" Right? Or poor communication, where it kind of gives them the answer. So they go, "Yeah, what is the
Mm-hmm.
cost?" Right? And then I
Mm-hmm.
put it on this site I'm really excited about called the Scorecard app.
Mm-hmm.
The Scorecard app. You've heard me talk about this guy, the Priestley guy, Dan
Mm-hmm.
Priestley,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
right? Right. He's the one that has the company Scorecard app. I think it's like $49 a month. And then as I looked at it and I was playing with the free version of it, I was like, oh, I could see how this would work because all it is, it leans on what he talks about the most. He says all of business starts with lead generation, period.
Mm-hmm.
He said the Scorecard app goes out there and generates leads based on problems people answer, period. So you have that. What is your cost of poor communication? Boom, Scorecard app. What is the cost of you saying yes? What is your yes? What are all those yeses costing you? Boom,
Mm-hmm.
Scorecard. And then they go, let me take this. And now leads, 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 leads. And then it sends them automatically the answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So, look
Mm-hmm.
into it, Scorecard app, because I
I
mean, for
like it.
49 bucks, you do it a month and you jump right on it with your team and y'all create a whole bunch of them and put them out there, push them out there for a
Mm-hmm.
month, right?
No, that sounds good.
Just for a month. Because remember, we talked about it in one of our other videos. Hey, marketing was stinking up the joint. This marketing company, oh, I'm sorry if y'all listening, but that marketing
Mm-hmm.
company wasn't doing what I wanted them to do. And we talked about us as business owners hate marketing, blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
this way you go, okay, here's this thing. Now I just need to get it in front of people and see how that does for me for $49. Maybe a little bit more because you'll have your team pushing it out, finding the right people to put it in front of.
Mm-hmm.
But then to me, that is just what we're talking about. The who, what, where, and how many question. Who? Well, and then what is their problem? They're getting ready to tell us. Now you sitting back going, those are just the problems I solve. Would you like me to help you solve it? And they go, of course. Now, depending on how many people you put it out there, you can do the math. And then the math tells you a story. So I know we had a little bit of a internet thing, but so Rob, as we wrap up here and we think
Mm-hmm.
about the awareness, we think about the literally forward business plan, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we think about what is still the disconnect in your business, its problems, and how you're going out there and solving. And if we need to do anything, what do you have to say for that?
Yeah, no, I think that, a lot of what you talked about and what we kind of talked about back and forth, there's a lot of stuff that business owners have at their disposal. I think the key thing that you got to kind of center back to is those four questions, like that four question business plan you talked about. And again, I think I said this a little bit earlier. Sometimes you might not be happy with the answers that you find.
Yeah.
And you got to realize, like, are you are you trying to serve people or are you trying to have people serve you? That's the big question you got to look at when you run a business.
Mm, that is so. Ooh, that's so what I was researching today, and that was that inverted pyramid. In other words, customers first. They talk about it. Noah Kagan talks about it in the $1 Million Weekend too. He says clients first, not your stuff. He says first of all, when you're starting to have $1 million business or $1 million weekend, right? He's basically saying clients first, not all your stuff. Go try to sell somebody first. Get a
Mm-hmm.
customer, scale
Mm-hmm.
that. That
Yep.
And then Amazon talks about that, right? It says client first. He told
Mm-hmm.
shareholders, you might not make a dime for a long time
Mm-hmm.
because we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
clientful. And now, as a result of that, you got your rabbit fans, right? Timu and all them trying to come in. And I'm like, forget y'all. I'm with them.
Mm-hmm. That's
All right.
exactly it. All
So
right, brother.
y'all try to create that, and we will see you on the next pod. All right. See ya.